if you will heed. Our sages said that the verse teaches us that the commandments that we fulfill with our feet, that one goes to the synagogue or to a sermon or visiting the sick, to someone who is sick, or to attend a funeral or console the mourners, all of these commandments have great merit. Even on the Sabbath, one may run or walk quickly to go to the synagogue. Whoever does not fulfill the commandments, after his death the commandments will complain about him on the day of judgment. As the verse says, the encompassing evil of those who would supplant me. This means the sins that he commits with his feet will surround him. Similarly, when he is arrogant with his feet or he runs to commit sins, he will be punished. In particular, the one who engages in arrogance with his footsteps will be punished, as we find regarding the daughter of Rabbi Hanina, who was forced into a brothel because of the sin of arrogance she engaged in with her haughty walk. She said herself, "I have sinned in that I walked haughtily with my feet." The Holy One is punctilious with the steps of the people. Therefore, the portion begins with, "if you will heed." This means, when you will keep the commandments that one does with one's feet, then the Holy One will give you the land and everything that the Holy One promised you. Another explanation is that the reward for the commandments is at the end, in the next world. The reward of the evildoer for the few commandments that he fulfilled is in this world. Concerning this, the verse said, "if you will heed." This means when you will hear the commandments. Thus, God will repay you the reward in the end, in the next world. The word Eikev means the bottom. Like the heel of the person's foot is the bottom part of the person. So too, the reward will be paid in the end. Another explanation is that the verse teaches us that the commandments that one holds insignificant and easy to fulfill, like something that one steps on with his foot, since he considers them as nothing, so too are some commandments that the person considers ordinary and easy. You should keep these commandments. You should not say that this commandment is good and the other one is not good. Rabbi Aha said in Sefer Tanhuma, a parable. A king puts some workers in a garden to plant all sorts of trees, and he does not tell them what their payment will be. If he would tell them the payment, then each one would work on the good trees in the garden and would receive a good payment. Nobody would work on the ordinary trees, and the garden would not be properly made. So too, the Holy One did not make explicit what the reward is for the commandments, expecting that the person should not choose which commandments to do. Rather, he should do what comes to hand. Rabbi Simeon bar Yochai said the Holy One made explicit the reward for 2 commandments. One is a very easy commandment. When someone comes across a nest in which there are birds, he must send away the mother from the children, and then he may take the children. The Holy One wrote here that when the person will do this, his reward would be that he would live long. The Holy One also wrote about the reward for the most difficult commandment. This is, "Honor your father and your mother, expecting that you will live long." The Holy One compared the easiest commandment to the most difficult commandment, to give the same reward. As great as the reward is, so too the punishment is as great for the one who does not honor father and mother. The ravens and birds will peck at him, and the eagle will eat him. The Holy One pays everything, measure for measure. Therefore the raven is not compassionate to its children, since its children are born white, and it is black. The male says to the female, "You exchanged with another bird, and therefore your children are white," and they leave their children. The Holy One makes them food. Flies are created from their spittle until they are grown and strong. Afterwards, they become black. Since ravens are not compassionate, that is why the Holy One sends the ravens to the person who is not compassionate to his father and mother, and they pick out his eyes and peck at his flesh. However, they do not eat his flesh. The Holy One sends the eagle, who is compassionate to its children, and who eats the flesh of the person who does not honor his father or his mother. The eagle carried its children on its wings. It is afraid that someone would shoot at its children. However, other birds that carry their children with their feet are afraid of other birds. When the eagle comes to its nest, it flaps its wings. It does not want to frighten its children. Eikev. 2. God will faithfully maintain, All the good things that the Holy One gives to Israel in the world are from the blessing that Balaam had blessed Israel. However, the blessing of our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and the blessing of the other prophets will be fulfilled at the end. Concerning this, the verse said, "Faithfully maintain." This means, He will wait and hide your reward for the end. 3:4. The Lord will ward off from you all sickness. This means the Lord will ward off from you all sickness. Rav said in Tractate Baba Meziah, the verse shows us that the evil eye is the greatest sickness. Rav once went to the cemetery. He did something and he learned that out of 100 people, all died from the evil eye, and only one of 100 died from the normal causes of death. 107 billions. You shall consign the images of the gods to the fire. Our sages said in Tractate Avodah Zarah, when there still are foreign gods, they must be burned, and one should have no benefit from them. However, when the Gentile has decommissioned them as foreign gods, then they are permitted to an Israelite. Therefore, one sometimes buys silver crosses, since the Gentile has decommissioned them. 52a. You shall not bring an abhorrent thing into your house. From here we learn that one should not rent a house to a Gentile in the land of Israel, since the Gentile places his foreign god in the house. Our rabbis write that outside the land of Israel it is permitted to rent one's house to a Gentile. So writes Rabbeinu Hananel and some other rabbis. However, a righteous person does not rent his house to a Gentile even outside the land of Israel. All the instruction that I enjoin upon you. From here we learn that each person should see to it that they do it completely when they fulfill a commandment. We find concerning Moses our teacher that he fulfilled a commandment and brought the bones of Joseph the righteous out of Egypt into the wilderness to take them to the land of Israel. He did not complete the fulfillment of the commandment and did not bring him all the way to the land of Israel. Afterwards, the Israelites carried the bones into the land of Israel. Thus, the Torah wrote about the Israelites that they had fulfilled the commandment, as if the Israelites had fulfilled the commandment alone, and not Moses. He subjected you to the hardship of hunger, and then gave you manna to eat. The verse shows us that the manna was given to Israel. Whoever ate it became smart and received a clear intelligence. Therefore, the verse says that it made you hungry because you had previously digested bread from the earth, and afterwards you ate bread from heaven. This was different bread. This bread caused them to receive greater intelligence, and they were able to cleave to the Shekhinah. The clothes upon you did not wear out. The clothes of the Israelites did not rot for 40 years. This was a great miracle, to wear the same shirt for 40 years. Nowadays, when a person wears a shirt for 30 days, he has troubles. How much more so for 40 years? The Holy One caused a good wind to blow, and it caused all the clothes to be new, and it did not get sweaty. Rabbi Eliezer asked Rabbi Simeon, with what did the Holy One clothe the Israelites in the desert? He responded with silk garments that the angels clothed the Israelites. If someone was small, the garments grew with him, so that it fit properly even when he was grown. They did not smell from sweat. The well caused good vegetation to grow, and they were fragrant from one end of the world to the other end. The Israelites wafted the smoke from this vegetation over themselves, and no sweat was smelled from them. As the verse says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. King Solomon also said, The scent of your robes is like the scent of Lebanon. This means the scent of your clothes is as fragrant as good incense. Your feet were not swollen. Some sages say that the Levites who carried the Holy Ark in the desert went barefoot, without shoes. Nonetheless, their feet were not swollen. Some sages say that the Israelites also went barefoot, since the soles of their shoes rotted, and yet their feet were not swollen. The Lord your God disciplines you. The Holy One punished you by not giving you bread at one time, but every day you had to wait for bread from heaven. With this, the Holy One accustomed you that you should look to the Almighty God. Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Ashi argued with each other. One said that it is not the same, the one who has bread at one time in his house, or when he does not. The one who does not have cannot become sated immediately. The other one said it is not the same when one sees what one eats, or the one who does not see what he eats. Rabbi Joseph said, "From here we learn that a blind person cannot be immediately sated even if he eats much." Abai said, "The one who has a meal to eat should eat it during the day and not at night." Eikev, Remez 850. A land where you may eat food without stint. God said, "You will have enough bread in the land." Our sages say that this verse shows us that the sages in the land of Israel have purer intelligence than the sages in other lands, since the air of the land of Israel is purer and makes the people who live in the land of Israel smarter so that they can understand the Torah better. Therefore, the verse said, "You will have a land in which you will have enough bread." He means with this that the Torah is called bread. Just as one cannot live without bread, so one can also not be without Torah. Afterwards, the Torah praises that in the land of Israel you will have enough iron and enough copper, since iron and copper are necessary for all sorts of vessels. However, silver and gold are not necessary. Therefore, the verse does not praise the land for its silver and gold. Give thanks to the Lord your God. The verse teaches us that someone who benefits from something in this world and eats something or drinks something, he must first recite a blessing. He shows with the blessing that God has given this as sustenance for the person. However, the one who eats and drinks something without a blessing, it is like he steals something from the Holy One. The person who does not recite a blessing brings hunger into the world. Beware, lest your heart grow haughty and you forget. This verse shows us that when the person is rich and he has everything, he becomes arrogant and forgets the Holy One. He says, "My intelligence made this, that I am so rich, and my constellation in heaven made this." Therefore the verse wrote, "Remember that it is the Lord your God." This means, remember that it is God that gave you everything and not your wisdom or your constellation at the end of those 40 days. From here we learn that the Israelites made the golden calf on the same day that they received the tablets. As soon as Moses saw that they were making the golden calf, he broke the tablets. He said, "It is better to break them." Thus the Holy One will not punish them so severely that they made the golden calf, since they did not have the tablets and did not have the Torah. Thus, the sin of the golden calf was not so great. As soon Moses saw the golden calf, he ran away with the tablets. The Israelite elders ran after him and began to tear the tablets from Moses, but Moses was stronger than all the elders, and the tablets remained in Moses' hands. Moses looked at the tablets and the letters flew up to heaven. The tablets immediately became very heavy in Moses' hands, because the letters had left. Moses could not hold them because of the heaviness. Thus Moses let them fall, and they were broken. The Holy One showed Moses that he should carve out the tablets from good precious stones that were under the throne of glory. The Holy One said, "You should carve the tablets, and I will write on the tablets." Anit 4:8. The Lord was angry enough with Aaron. The Holy One wanted to kill the 4 children of Aaron because he had made the golden calf, but Moses prayed. Thus, only 2 of Aaron's children died, and 2 remained alive, even though Aaron did not intend to make a foreign god, but he made the golden calf. He only wanted to calm Israel for a while. However, in any event, it was a desecration of God's name to make a foreign god, and he caused all of Israel to sin. The Holy One is more punctilious with the righteous. Even over a small sin he punished the righteous greatly. Aaron died there. The verse that Aaron died was written near the verse where the tablets were broken, since the Torah compares one to the other. For the Holy One does not like that the righteous should die, just like the Holy One did not like that the tablets were broken. At that time the Lord set apart the tribe of Levi. Since the Levites did not worship the golden calf, therefore the Holy One separated them for all sorts of holiness to carry the ark with the tablets, and to serve in the temple. And now, O Israel, what does the Lord your God demand of you? Only this, to revere the Lord your God. The verse teaches us that the Holy One desires to forgive the person if only he would repent for his sins. Thus said, God, even though you worshipped foreign gods, yet only repent and fear God. The verse teaches us that everything is in the hands of God and the person should fear God. This is in the person's hands. The person has the power. He can fear or not. Therefore, the person should reflect and be pious and fear God. Charity is the greatest commandment. Our sages give a parable. A person was taken before the king to stand in judgment. That person has 3 good friends who always helped him. Now that he has been taken before the king, he comes to his best friend and asks him to go with him to the king. He responds, "I will not even take a step with you." He goes to the next one. He responds, "I will go with you to the door." He comes to the third one. He responds, "I will go with you to the room of the king, but I will not speak for you." The person remembers an ordinary friend whom he never considered important. He comes to him and says to him, "Go with me." He responds, "You have always considered me as nothing. Yet I will speak for you before the king, and I will save you from death." And he helps him. So too, when the person dies, he has a friend who was the one he loved most. This is money. It does not accompany him for one step. The second friends are his family, his wife, and children. They go with him to the grave. The shroud that he wears, they go with him into the grave before the king, the Holy One. However, they do not speak for him and they cannot help him. However, the friend he considered insignificant, the commandments he fulfilled, and his charity, they go with him to the judgment before the Holy One and speak for him, and they save him from Gehenna. As the verse says, charity saves from death. Our sages say that there was a communal leader who was called Nabal of Carmel. He was very wealthy, but did not want to give anything to a poor person. Therefore, the Holy One sent him an unnatural death. Our sages learn from the verse, "What does the Lord your God demand of you? That the person should make 100 blessings every day." King David made 100 blessings every day, since 100 people died every day. Therefore, they made 100 blessings. 441, who shows no favor. The Holy One does not favor anyone, not even the most righteous person with regard to the most insignificant transgression. He punishes him immediately. He takes no bribes, that the Holy One should say the righteous one has fulfilled 1,000 commandments and 1 transgression. I will let it pass. No. The Holy One pays the righteous person for his transgression. He also pays him in full for the commandments he has fulfilled, and he does not abrogate the positive commandments because of the transgression. The Holy One does justice for widows and orphans, even though the Holy One is very important and mighty, serving him with all your heart. Our sages say that the verse teaches us regarding prayer, that the essence of prayer is with the heart and good thoughts to the Holy One. They know that prayer abrogates the evil decrees. When someone cannot have children because his star shows that he cannot have children, he can change his star through prayer, as we find concerning Isaac. He prayed, and Rebekah became pregnant and had children. When our sages organized the prayers, they did not write any extraneous words. However, the prayer is not everything. One should not shout aloud, but one should pray quietly, as we find regarding Hannah. She prayed silently in the temple, but her lips moved. The high priest thought that she was drunk. Thus the high priest said to her, "What are you doing here, you drunken woman?" She responded, "You are no true prophet, I am praying." The priest immediately said to Hannah, "You should be blessed. God will accept your prayer, and you will have a son this year." From here we learn that one should not shout during prayers, and women in particular, since they cause that others cannot pray with proper intention. Women commit another sin when they shout during their prayers. The men hear their voice and have evil thoughts about that woman. Our sages say that when a strange man hears the voice of a woman, it is as if he had sexual relations with her. 24a. Therefore, the person should stand with humility, resignation, and fear, and should take as an example as if the person was standing before a king of flesh and blood. He might tremble and fear, how much more so before the Holy One, the King of Kings. 5:1. As soon as the person wakes up, he should praise the Holy One that he returned his soul to him, since at night when the person sleeps, the soul goes up to heaven. When he wakes up, the Holy One returns the soul to him. The person should know that the soul is clean before the Holy One. It came back as soon as he awoke. The soul is very happy, and he should note that he is clean before the Holy One. Sometimes the person wakes up and is very sad and depressed. He does not know what is wrong with him. He should know that his soul was not clean before the Holy One that night. Prayer that is first mentioned in Moshe ibn Machir's Sefer Seder Hayom, Venice, 1599. Since we are discussing prayer, we will write a little more about it. Each person should be warned that he should know where he should bow down. He should not be like a fool, who bows down every minute. Therefore, he should know that he is obligated to bow when he begins the Amidah prayer. The second time he should bow is at the shield of Abraham. The third time he should bow is when he comes to "We thank you." The fourth time is when he says to whom it is fitting to give thanks. The fifth time is when one ends author of peace. He should move his left foot first. He should step back 3 steps and then he should bow. Each person should be warned that he should not bow more than is written. I will grant the rain for your land in season. I will give rain in its time, when it is needed, and not too much or too little. You shall gather in your new grain and wine and oil. You shall gather in your grain and wine and oil. Our sages said even though the Torah said that you should study day and night, yet one should also engage in business, since Torah is good with business. I will also provide grass. The Torah wrote that God makes the vegetation grow and all the grain, not as the nations of the world say that everything grows because of the constellations and stars. Therefore, the Torah wrote, I will also provide, and I will give vegetation. Our sages said one should first feed the animals before one eats. Therefore, the Torah wrote, I will also provide grass in the fields for your cattle. This means I will give vegetation to your cattle. And afterwards the Torah writes, you shall eat. This means you shall eat afterwards. Take care not to be lured away. Be warned that I do not lure you to do evil. Our sages said, when a person is rich, he is very arrogant in his heart, and this leads him to do evil. Therefore also, for the Lord's anger will flare up against you, and he will shut up the sky so that there will be no rain. This means, when you will be evil, then I will give no rain. The Talmud in Ta'anit writes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Joshua argued over from where the rain comes. Rabbi Eliezer said the rain comes from the sea that is called the ocean. The Holy One sends clouds and they drink from this sea and carry water to the whole world. As the verse says, but a flow would well up from the ground and water. This means a cloud rises from the earth and waters the earth. Rabbi Joshua said, the rains come from the waters that are in heaven from the 6 days of creation. Rabbeinu Bahya writes, the 2 rabbis were both correct. Sometimes rain comes from heaven, and sometimes rain comes from the ocean. The rain that comes from the ocean is called rain, and the rains that come from heaven are called Geshem and Matar. The rain that comes from the sea makes the earth pregnant, like a woman who is a widow and becomes pregnant from strange men. Therefore, the blessing is not entirely good from the rain from the sea. However, the rain that comes from heavenly water is like a woman who becomes pregnant from her husband. The blessing from that rain is very good, as the verse says, the Lord will open for you his bounteous store, the heavens. This means God will open for you his treasury of goods from heaven. Therefore, impress these words. The sages said when Israel are in exile, they should be signified with commandments, with phylacteries, mezuzah, zizit, and with circumcision. Teach them to your children, reciting them. As soon as the child begins to speak, one should teach him, Moses charged us with the Torah, and hear, O Israel, to assign to them, as long as there is a heaven over the earth. The verse teaches us that the land of Israel was given to Israel forever, as long as the heaven is over the earth. Even if they are in exile, they will again return to it. This is a sign that Israel will again come into it. No king or nobleman can settle forever in the land of Israel. If then you faithfully keep, when you will keep the commandments, then the Holy One will protect you from your enemies. As the verse says, if then you will listen. When you will listen to the commandments, then God will also listen to your prayers. No man shall stand up to you. The Lord your God will put the dread and fear of you over the whole land. The verse teaches us that the person should rely on the Holy One and should not fear any person, but fear God on whom he trusts. The Holy One protects from all troubles. As the verse says, "He who trusts in the Lord shall be safeguarded." This means the one who relies on God will be strengthened, and the one who keeps the commandments and goes to the synagogue evening and morning, he will live long. We find a story in Sefer Yelamdenu. A woman who was very old came before Rabbi Yosef, son of Halafta. She said to him, "I am very old, and my life is very disgusting. I cannot eat or drink or sleep. I would gladly die." Rabbi Yosef said to her, "What commandments were you accustomed to fulfill in your day?" The woman said, "I was one of the first to go to the synagogue, evening and morning." Rabbi Yosef said to her, "Do not go to the synagogue for 3 days." The woman did so, and did not go to the synagogue for 3 days. The woman became sick on the 3rd day, and died. King Solomon said about this, "It is well for the person who goes to the synagogue, he will find long life." Eikev, Remez, 871.